Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Hope everyone is staying safe and healthy today. We're excited to talk to you about some digital maturity solutions to maximize opportunity for retailers in this unique time where consumer behavior is really changing rapidly and unpredictably amid the pandemic. I'm joined today by Brendan McNamara from Google. I'm Mail Wage Delivery Team Lead for Retail and E-commerce sector at InfoTrust. Been working for 15 years in the e-commerce, with cross-device implementation and specifically in the retail industry. I'm Brendan.
Yes, thank you, May, and it's great to get in contact with everybody. My name is Brendan McNamara. As May mentioned, I'm on the Google side, and I work on our Google Marketing Platform team. I primarily work with our GMP partners with a specialization in Google Analytics and our Cloud for Marketing products.
A little bit about InfoTrust. We are an end-to-end digital analytics consulting and data governance agency. We work with Google heavily. We are a Google partner, marketing platform partner. We are a Google Cloud partner. We don't just do analytics. We're really a data and engineering agency where we build a lot of our internal products in-house. We have offices in Cincinnati. We're headquartered in Cincinnati. We have offices in Columbus, Chicago, Dubai, Barcelona, and we're just opening an office in Toronto, Canada as well. We work with some of the best brands and we love our clients. While this webinar is for retailers, we also work with CPG multi-brand companies. We work with media and publishing, and a lot of other industries and top brands. Few housekeeping items. Yes, we are recording this webinar, and we will be sending a link with the recording and also the slide deck afterwards. There is a questions panel that you see in your go-to webinar, so you can send the questions and we may answer them as we go, or we also have time for Q&A in the end. My email address will be in the last slide if you need to get in touch directly with me. And you can always post questions here or fill out the form on our website. The agenda for today, we're going to start with top retail trends that we've seen during the pandemic, where Brendan is going to walk us through the struggles and some successes that we've done with retailers. I'm going to walk through some client case studies, and then we'll wrap up with taking action and things that you could do right now during the pandemic. And then we'll have some time for our discussion. Our webinar is really going to be a discussion between me and Brendan, and we'd love to hear your questions and your input so we can go through them and also provide examples and incorporate them in our discussion.
Okay. Thank you, May. So we wanted to start this really by just going through a number of trends that we've recognized. And these trends are more related to how retailers have been responding to the pandemic. We recognize that, of course, all brands and all companies are facing new challenges and are accommodating their media and their measurement plans to respond to those challenges. But we wanted to focus on, what specific is happening to retailers and how can we use analytics as a solution to respond best to those challenges. So some of the high level, trends that we've been seeing are really around clients who are tightening their budgets. And when they're tightening budgets, what they're really looking to answer are questions around what's our most efficient channel and what are areas that if we invest in, we can see a profitable return. We've also seen that retailers who are more traditionally a brick and mortar company are lacking the insights that they need to evaluate their online sales performance. So for many brands who are expanding their e-commerce footprint, they really need to also have the infrastructure in place to effectively measure their online activity. We're also recognizing that some retailers, if they do have a strong online presence, may have trouble in recognizing who their specific users are. So that could be on, activating against a CRM list, or it could be identifying a user who's on their site and then reaching them through media later on. But that could also be updating the profiles of who we have as a customer. So one of the interesting challenges we've seen for retailers is, many companies do have a very strong understanding of who their client base is, but what we see now is that the way those customers are acting online is quite different from the trends that we've seen previously. So even if we do have a strong audience persona, those audience personas and behaviors are not necessarily consistent with how users are interacting online. So something brands are looking to do is really get a pulse on how our users are behaving online and how we can best use those insights to then reach them to drive efficient performance through our media channels. And with these 4 trends, these are really intended to just be broad themes that are specific to retailers in the pandemic. And we recognize that, of course, they're not going to encompass all of the specific challenges that all retailers are facing, but they do hit a number of points that all retailers would have. And that's really around identity and then activating on insights for identity. So we have a poll that we wanted to bring to the group. Let me see, May, if you can share that to the screen.
Yep, right here.
Yes. And the poll is just asking, of those 4 big categories for challenges, which of these are the most top of mind for your brand? So is the biggest challenge around tightening budgets, or is it really around having effective online sales insights, or is it more focused on the 2 audience categories? So, trying to find our engaged users online, or analyzing and understanding those users once we do find them online.
Yeah, I see votes are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it a few more seconds before I show the result for the poll. Okay. Okay, let me close the poll, share the results with everyone.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so distribution. So it looks like the largest distribution or largest percentage is really around analyzing new behaviors and personas exhibited through the crisis. And then we also have a few responses for working with restricted budgets, and then also little to no insight on sales performance. So this makes a lot of sense. We see that these challenges are specific to retailers, but they're going to present themselves differently based on who the retailer is. And so the subvertical has a very big impact in what someone's response is going to be to the pandemic. And for this 4th trend that had the highest volume of responses, the ways that we've been using Google Analytics has been to analyze user activity within a closer time period. So instead of previously, we could have looked at it a year to get a audience persona. Now instead we'd be looking at, say, a month or maybe a few weeks to say, okay, this is the way that a user is interacting right now online. So how do we then turn that into our media activation plans?
Yeah, and that's kind of in line what I've seen with the challenges that I receive from our clients, and kind of we need new insights. We're seeing different things happening on our website. How can I get insight on these behaviors right away? Because I need to be, responding to these behaviors and activating on them. And one thing I want to ask you about, Brendan, is for one of our clients or a few of our clients who are kind of very focused on just advertising for now, in terms of, very media focused. Where do you see them in terms of the analytics maturity, and what kind of action items that we can have for them?
Sure. Yeah. So if we go to the next slide, we have what we in the Google Marketing Platform side like to refer to as our marketing maturity framework. And what we use this for is really to provide guidance and a roadmap for the different solutions clients can take at really any starting point. So if a client is, fully adopted and fully using the Google Marketing Platform stack for their measurement, for their ad serving, for their media buying, then what are the next solutions that they can include into their media plans? But then on the other side, if the client would be relatively new to Google Analytics, or they are only purchasing through one or two independent buying channels, what's the next step that they can do to maximize the insights they do have into their existing plans? So to Mai's question, a lot of our clients, they may be buying in a siloed direction. And what we mean by that is this could be a brand who is buying maybe exclusively on YouTube or maybe exclusively on Gmail. And because of that, they do have some insights that they can use to inform their campaigns, but those campaigns are only informed by that single source, and so they aren't yet able to use, say, their first-party data that they have on their clients, or any kind of third-party data sources, or information from different buying locations, be it DV360 or be it Google Ads, be it YouTube, be it Gmail. So with this framework, we just wanted to outline this because it gives an idea of, regardless of a retail client's starting point, we have a number of solutions in place that will help them advance their analytic prowess, really, and that is all with the goal of driving more efficient activity. So for these 4 categories, the nascent client is really one who is making media decisions based on existing media activity. And then the next one we have for emerging is a more tech-centric client. So this is someone who is collecting first-party data, and they're using this first-party data to inform their automated or programmatic buying. And then from connected, if you see from our different product icons, this is someone who is using different Google buying products. So they're using Google Ads and they're using Display and Video 360, but they're measuring all of that through Google Analytics. And they're using each of these different buying platforms to integrate insights from one channel into the other. And then the final category we have is a client who is using BigQuery and who is using Google Cloud and machine learning in order to have an understanding of the information they have, and then let that determine forward-looking action. And what I mean by that is we are using existing data to predict what clients will do moving forward based on their previous actions. And from these 4 categories, not many clients do fit exclusively into one of them. So we can see that, sometimes a retailer could have an extremely advanced measurement strategy. And so they're measuring their media performance through a number of different models, but they may still be looking to develop how they are segmenting their audiences or how they're developing their inventory plan. And so we use these 4 categories as a way to develop more of a roadmap with different clients. And something, May, I'm curious that you've seen, managing the retail practice with InfoTrust is for a client who could be at a different starting point. So maybe someone who is more nascent or someone who is in that connected or multi-moment position. What are the ways that they responded to the pandemic, and what are the solutions that you've all been able to put in place for them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of our clients that I wanted to kind of showcase here is a connected retailer, so kind of a bit more mature, and they have a lot of their platforms connected together. It's an international coffee retailer. They had brick and mortar stores, but they have a strong e-commerce outlet. So historically, their e-commerce is strong. They have a lot of the platforms connected. With their stores closing, they've seen, a huge increase, about 40% revenue. About kind of started early February, I would say, and then they've seen that kind of international in all of their markets. And they were thinking, whether was that just because people were, just avoiding, going to grocery stores buying stuff? Is it just from the stores, or some people were going to other, brands and now they're coming back here? So are these inactive customers? Are these brand new clients? This is the question they wanted to answer. And if, given that they're connected, we just want, we had the tools in place. We had BigQuery for them. We had some CRM integration, and they wanted to know, they wanted to make informed decisions on, their budget distribution. Where should we advertise? If these are brand new customers, should we getting more brand new customers? Should we target certain markets? So because of their kind of connected maturity, we were able, like within 2 days, we pulled data from BigQuery, Google Analytics, and we built this data studio dashboard where we were able to tell them that 50% of their new transactions are actually coming from clients who have been inactive for the past year, and they just came back, with the pandemic. Customers who, were brand new, they were very small percentage. So that was kind of a big aha moment for them, because they had these customers, they have profile information for them, they knew exactly what to do next. With the integration of these different platforms, it was quickly, we could pull that solution quickly and give them the insights. And they were, we had this is just one part of the dashboard. That was a big dashboard that kind of covered different markets, different attributes of these new orders, of these customers coming back, and how we could, do more with them.
And one of the other benefits, and it's interesting, May, what you were mentioning of how the solution was really developed within 2 days, and it's a relatively quick turnaround. But the reason why the turnaround was able to be so efficient was based on the client's the analytic foundation that they had in place. And so since they had Google Analytics and they were integrated with BigQuery, and they had Data Studio dashboards that they were using to view their insights, they're then able to action upon those insights. And so some of the recommendations that we would have for retail clients who do have more, this Google Analytic foundation in place and do have this list of who their first party users are how can we activate these insights in our media? And so if we recognize that there are returning customers who we can target, then what's the overlap we see in say Google Ads, and how does that overlap compare to DV360 and SA360, and ultimately what's the most efficient channel for us to reactivate and target those users based on the insight that we have that, okay, these are returning customers, and so these are people who our brand does have an existing relationship with. And when May and I were talking over this, we were thinking of, okay, now that we've been able to deliver a project like this, what are additional solutions that a client in this place could work with? And some of those are further working with their CRM integration. So, now that they are tracking who their first party users are, how do we observe how those users change over time? And then how do we also use their buying behavior for a purchase prediction audience? And so we can most efficiently target these users back when we're activating on our media platforms in order to reach those who have the highest propensity to purchase for the brand.
Yeah.
And I know, May, one thing we talked about is how a client in this position, when they have Google Analytics in place and they have BigQuery connector, they're able to act very quickly. But I'm also interested in what a response during the pandemic looks like for a client who may not have all of these kind of analytic foundations in place, and what are the ways that your team has been able to work with them to find solutions during this time?
Yeah, so another favorite client of mine is a kind of in a nascent phase. It's a beauty retailer. They do have brick and mortar stores, and that was kind of their main outlet. Their website was there, but it wasn't the actual kind of main purchase channel, and the way they connect with their customers. They had online kind of a limited online functionality, no mobile app. So their questions were very different, because when all of the stores were closed down, they really wanted to know, how can I target these store customers, because these are the ones who got regular in my store. Now that the website is getting more traffic, they wanted to know which sections of the website our customers more engaged with, which are the products that people are really clicking on or viewing or favoriting, because these kind of help them to prep some inventory, because they were trying to do the in-store pickup, because that's where they had most of their products. So they really wanted to have insights on site usage, but the e-commerce part was, how can I target customers to come and buy online? Because most of my customers are not in my online database; they really just come into the store. And with them, we had kind of Google Signals enabled in GA, and that helped us, how to do kind of with those loyal customers who've been to the store, who go regularly to the store. With Google Signals, we were able to target these and kind of build audiences for these people and be able to target them with advertising. We also created some automated reports for content on their website. Show most searched products, high traffic categories like for products, and pages that were kind of, just simple dashboard that we were able to create out of GA data to tell them exactly what are the trends, what are people looking for in your website, which products are really hot right now. So you could just, pump up the inventory in your stores and be able to meet that demand.
Yeah, and something about this solution that really caught my attention is in the beginning when we had the trends that we have been recognizing for retailers, the fourth one, which had the largest response from our attendees around consumers exhibiting new behaviors when home, which can make a brand's previous personas not as effective as those personas previously could have been. This is really a solution that helps a client jumpstart what that persona really can be. And so this is someone who previously majority of their activity is done through brick and mortar stores, and now we do see a shift to their online site and the way that their customers are engaging with the brand. And we really want to, put some analytics behind what we're seeing. And so very quickly, I know the InfoTrust team was able to work with this brand and say, what's the existing data that we have available? How do we best collect? How do we best track this information? And then how do we activate upon that? And so if it's something like applying geo-targeting, so we're only serving media in areas that do have in-store pickup as an option, then it's specifying those locations. But then if it's also using Google Signals, so we can reach people, as May mentioned, who have been engaging on the most strategic parts of the site, then we're able to find who those users are, where previously, if those users were all in-store users, we would have not been able to do so. So it's finding different ways that we can observe online behavior and then really leverage the current media buying channels that we have in order to respond to how users have been changing. So with these two examples, May, around the one client who has a strong analytics foundation and recognizes a very high increase in the revenue that they see online, and is looking to do even more with their CRM integration and with the purchase prediction, and then to this example with the beauty retailer who is looking really for the first time to target their store customers in an online fashion. What would you say are some solutions or some recommendations that would apply really across the board for all retailers, regardless of what their starting point is with analytics?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we the first learning that applies to all organizations across all stages, whether they are nascent or connected or multi-moment, is really to know their customer. And just because, like we said, this pandemic showed new behaviors, new personas of the same customers that they thought they knew before. So the more mature an organization is, the easier they can get to that, to know their customer, new behaviors at a deeper level. Those who came to the store are now online. So a lot of these nascent organizations which did not have a lot of the personas online, and they depended on the brick and mortar stores. Now they have their customers coming into their website, leaving their digital footprints everywhere on the site. So you have a better chance to get to know those customers at a deeper level. So, as marketers, we all aim to know the customers and build a relationship with them. But knowing the demographics is not going to help really predict their next action. The behavioral data that we collect on the website is going to be significantly better at predicting things like purchases, upgrades, churn, and so on. So what the customers do online really paint a better picture. So make sure that we have, the key here is be able to know the actions. We track everything that the customer do, to know what they're doing, so we can show them what they expect or need at each moment, so we can answer them before they ask, really. Another thing that we want to do is reassess and keep up with the customers. In this unique time where consumer behavior is really changing rapidly, what you decided 2 weeks ago about your marketing campaign may not be appropriate today. And the one constant assumptions that we have here is, things will change. So for retailer to maximize opportunity, they need to continuously reassess every touch point for their brand. The guiding question should be, campaign started last month or last week. Is it still right in terms of context and moment? For instance, that beauty retailer that I mentioned, they had a Google App campaign running for their aloe hand sanitizers, which was, it was very hot in the US market. up until a few weeks ago. And I'm gonna show the tool here, which is the Google Trends tool, that shows you like an interest in certain things. So hand sanitizer, the top peak of interest, which was like 100% interest around March 12. But if we see that, you know, kind of peak down right now, and the interest is way lower, like at 14% interest compared to back in March. So for them, this shop, you know, this insight will be, you know what, maybe I should be repurposing the campaign to look at something else. What should I, where should I be put, you know, where should I have my campaign money now? Another tool that may be also useful is the shopping insights. So with the shopping insights, you'll be able to compare different products and see what kind of shoppers, you know, what they're looking for. So if you see like starting March here, insights in hair color have been increasing, nail care as well, like skincare sets, not so much, it's just the same. And you can, you know, you can add anything. You can just add makeup, for example, and you'll see all the different products, like whether it's eye makeup or whatever, and you can browse different categories and sometimes even go on the brand. And this way you can compare and see what things are gaining interest in searches, so you can cater for those. And lastly, there is another tool, which is Google, it's called the Rising Retail Categories. So this tells you a lot of the retail category. For example, when we talked about the coffee retailer, if they want to add some gifts or something like that around Mother's Day, you could see what kind of categories, and if I, for example, choose cupcakes or, you know, food gift baskets, I see what are the top queries, and I can look at that in different countries. I can look at that, you know, by state. I can look at it weekly or monthly. So it just gives you a lot of trends to meet your customers and see what's currently in demand. So you can, you know, when you do that, when you shift your budgets, you put it where it matters. Here, kind of as a summary, the guiding question, or, you know, when you use these tools, you want to know what are the most relevant brands, products, you know, or campaigns that your media can support right now, and what you need to shift budgets. And using these tools kind of keep you informed. And lastly, this pandemic had taught us that it is very important to kind of reframe and plan ahead. This extra traffic that we're having online, the new demands, the new personas that we're seeing, help some retailers really see the gaps in their online business process that we uncovered in the crisis. There's a lot for them to learn. And I think the best place to start is to see where you are in terms of digital maturity framework, and kind of try to outline action items. So Brendan, what do you think is a good starting point to evaluate their maturity?
Sure. So I think with evaluating maturity, and the reason again why we do this is to develop some kind of a roadmap to find what solutions really fit for a client based on how they're currently using the products and how they can best use, you know, one new component of the product, is just to take stock of what a client is currently using. So I know beforehand we had a visual of this slide which showed, you know, the products that someone who is, say, that nascent example, what they would be using compared to the products that the more advanced client would be using. And in here we also have some bullets of just different solutions that clients who are at that starting point could leverage. So someone who says, you know, doing campaign-based execution, and they may only exclusively be buying Google search and aren't yet using data points from their own campaigns or from external data points or their own CRM information, a next step that they can do in order to make their media more efficient seems natural, but it's just, you know, looking at one of those additional data sources and then integrating that into the platform and then using that to inform what their audience strategy looks like or what their measurement strategy would look like. So we have this list, and I know May mentioned that we're sending the deck out afterwards, but this is just to give an example of the types of solutions that different retailers could leverage at this time based on what their current analytic foundation is. And we also had a poll that we wanted to send out again right now that's saying, where do we think a lot of the brands who we're working with today, where do we think they stand? And the 4 buckets that we have here, there's no right, there's no wrong answer, but what we what we find helpful with this is that it's really just taking stock of what the brand is able to do based on the data that they have available.
Yes, the answers coming in already. Wow. And I see a few in the multi-moment. That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, it's also interesting seeing, I know May, you mentioned this in the first client example, but the coffee retailer, they have a very strong foundation, and they have a very strong sense of who their users are and how they're measuring those users. And we do see that that is relatively true for many of our retail clients. And so while every brand is responding differently to the pandemic, of course, retail is in an interesting position where many of our clients do already have a very strong foundation. And so with this very strong foundation, we can use that to say, okay, now that we have different data sources that are connected to one another, how do we use these insights to drive efficiency? And then we recognize that that efficiency will change on a pretty regular basis. So the solution for this week may not necessarily be the solution for 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm, seeing here that a lot of the audience kind of find themselves in that connected data centric, which is great. And even with that connected data centric, which is the example that I mentioned in that coffee retailer, sometimes they find themselves going back into emerging or into multi-moment, kind of, they kind of float into those before and after categories too, just depending on the project that we're in. Sometimes some projects they're pretty advanced and that we're really talking some predictions and machine learning, versus in some project where they're starting over or they're restarting, thinking of their integrations or having new platforms integrated, they see themselves again in the emerging stage. So kind of clients kind of have their main stage and then kind of float between other stages too. Yeah, and with that, that is what we have today. I'm going to open it up for questions. Let me see if we have any questions that came in. Okay, there is a question. And Brendan, that's probably yours. So new behaviors at home. What they're asking is, how can I, making the brand previous personas and profiles obsolete, how creating audience profile based on current site engagement can help with that?
Right. So I know, so we did have, the one client example was looking at previously our customers were engaging in brick and mortar stores and in person. And now that those stores have limited access, we have much more online traffic. So how do we understand who those users are and then how to create our new audience personas? And something that we've seen is, and it seems like a quick solution, and it really can be for implementation, but rather than using a much longer term window to create our audience personas, I know many brands could use either a year of information to create who their audience persona is, or they could use a 90-day look back window. Something as quick as just adjusting that window to say 30 days or maybe to a 2-week period, and then creating a different audience personas, often audience profiles based off of how people are engaging with the site currently. That could help us have a more actionable and efficient audience who we can activate in media. So something as quick as reassessing the existing audiences and then creating them from a shorter time frame could help us find who are the most engaged users to access right now.
Yeah, definitely. There is another question. What are some examples of what we can be doing right now to prepare for the world after COVID? Yeah, we're all ready for the world after COVID. Things that we mentioned is, take the time now. A lot of the organizations are taking some time off right now, with trying to retool, reassess, see where they are on the maturity model. Also, things that, the tools that we mentioned, with Google Trends or Shopping Insights, these tools are really helpful and kind of will be the retailer friends to see where they can focus their efforts, where they can focus their budgets, because things might change. And while things are changing, your insights here is going to tell you what's hot in the market, where you need to focus your budgets, and kind of not just in the pandemic, even post, able to reassess and review and make sure that you are on top of what's being demanded by your customers, to be able to make sure that to meet them where they are and answer their questions before they even ask.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think your third point, May, in the last slide around taking action, around how do we reframe and plan ahead, really helps answer this question as well, where for many clients, this could be an opportunity where we actually see more online traffic than we had previously, and being able to get an understanding of who these users are is definitely different from what we would have been able to do, say, 6 months ago. So just being able to have this increased traffic for the time being, any types of analyses that we can complete on those audiences will help us engage with these users at a later point. And I know for media plans that, as May mentioned, it's a matter of how do we stay on top of trends and respond based off of what's happening in the market. We've also seen that some companies are really differentiating their media plans based on region, based on different product lines, just based on what's permitted in one area versus another, or how people are focusing on one product line compared to another product line.
And I think some things that I've seen with a lot of the clients right now to prepare for world after COVID is really kind of sharpen their own saw and make sure that they are on top of this, and if they need to pinpoint where they can be more mature, because they notice that if you're a retailer and you've seen these gaps right now, that with COVID you've seen, oh, I have a gap and I don't know my customers, I can't activate on my CRM directly. This is the time to actually build it. So when I'm not saying another pandemic will happen, but you're ready to face any changes, because the market will change post-COVID. Things will change. It's not going to be, there might be new normals, new trends, new personas that we'll see post the pandemic. But if you have the right tools in place, and if you have, you are at a certain maturity, you'll be able to act faster and respond faster to any new behaviors that you'll get from your clients.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. One thing I saw that question made me think of was one brand used this time really is the first time to, I believe it was, they created purchase prediction segments that were in Google Analytics and then pushed these to DV360. And it was the first time that the client had really pushed segments from Google Analytics to DV360. And they were new audiences that they wouldn't have recognized before this period. But they decided that, okay, if we're looking to really increase the efficiency with how we're buying our media, we should be doing this in the most informed way. And so if we do have an analytics platform that allows us to create these custom segments, then how do we activate it upon these audiences? So we have seen that some clients are using the time to really maximize the integrations that they can take advantage of.
I see another question that's around Google Signals. So the question is, with some states slowly opening up retail stores, what do you think is a good approach, given that we're just starting to use Google Signals for store visits? That's a good question. And, with retails also opening, you want to segment your store visits and segment your customers, based on device, to know which customers are coming through mobile versus desktop. And the reason is sometimes you might want to bid more for shoppers who are searching for you on mobile, and not just because the behavior on mobile just adds more conversions or people buy on mobile. No, because sometimes people are more likely to visit your stores and complete a purchase when you open, but they want to make sure that you actually have the product before they come in, or they want to make sure that you're open, because a lot of the stores, it's not 100% all of the stores are open. A lot of people do check before they come in. So you want to take advantage of the fact that people are often searching, and you want to be there on mobile, whether it's an advertising or a Google Shopping campaign, and think of it as the new entrance back into your store. don't separate the physical store experience from the online experience. Think of it as a mobile first experience, or what we call kind of the omni-channel shopping. You know, these omni-channel shoppers, which kind of look into your, you know, search in the mobile, but then go into the store and do the purchase. These are kind of it's the same client, and when we separate online from, you know, in store, we're really kind of disconnecting that single client into two separate ones, or, you know, we're not considering the omni-channel experience. So for example, like Macy's, when they implemented this omni-channel shopper, kind of they called it the micro moments, where they considered, you know, if the client searches for a Macy's location or a Macy's product, they kind of go in and follow the clients that they did do purchase online. I mean, in the store, and they learned that this omni-channel customer approach, and these omni-channel customers specifically, who are there in more than a channel, they're kind of 8 more times valuable than those who just shop in either online or store. So make sure you capitalize on getting those customers wherever they are, whether they're just searching for you for hours or just looking for some products and window shopping on their app, but then coming into the store to buy. It's the experience, kind of the cross-channel experience, is where you'll find more value. And once the stores open up, you'll find that, you know, now that you're so good at doing the digital stuff with a lot of practice during the pandemic, you want to make sure that you carry this into the in-store as well and not ignore it. Okay, see if I have more questions. I don't see any more questions come in. Okay, I guess with that, I really appreciate everyone's time, and I hope you've got some learnings to, you know, do for your retail fund. This webinar recording will be sent to you along with a slide deck. And if you have any more questions, my email is right there. You can contact me directly, or, you know, get in touch with any of the social channels as well. It was a pleasure to speak to you about this, and it was, you know, Brendan, do you want to add anything?
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you all for dialing in and listening, and I wanted to say, May, as well, thank you very much. I learned quite a lot about retail clients, and I know that, you know, many brands, of course, are responding to the pandemic, but I also see that the challenges that retailers are facing are quite unique to many other clients. And so, you know, when thinking of how we can use analytics as a solution to say, all right, what's our best next step, is a tough challenge, but it's something that we're able to do by having, you know, a platform that can integrate in a number of different places. So I wanted to thank you as well for teaching me quite a lot about the retail space. So thank you everyone for dialing in.
You're welcome, Brendan, and thank you for joining us. You know, I'm always amazed by the Google, you know, the Turkey framework, and how kind of so easy when I talk to my clients, I can pinpoint which stage they're in and kind of be able to tell them the next action item. It's always a great practice to tell them where you are, what to do next, and kind of have that product stack ready for them. So yeah, I appreciate your time and appreciate everyone's time on this webinar. Thank you for joining, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great, have a nice one.